Listen, I had 107,000 people in New Jersey. You didn't report it. I have 10 times, 20 times, 30 times the crowd size. And no, they never say the crowd was big. That's why I'm always saying turn around the cameras.
Well, it was 2016 all over again today. When Donald Trump said, quote, Kamala Harris is not smart enough to do a news conference, the networks could have simply put on the side of the screen, Kamala Harris is a graduate of Howard University and University of California Hastings College of Law. Of course, Donald Trump proved once again today that he is not smart enough to do a news conference by saying something that was provably false in every response he gave to every single question. His responses came from that vast well of stupidity that takes up most of his brain.
I mean, at this point, whoever negotiated Lawrence O'Donnell's contract needs a raise because the dude is not wasting a single second on air.
The stupidest person who has ever won a nomination for president stood there in front of those reporters and said his opponent isn't smart enough to do what he was failing at right in front of those reporters. And to make a bad news coverage situation worse, none of the networks, none of them, carried Kamala Harris's speech live after the Trump appearance.
As we all witnessed, Donald Trump didn't have the best of days as he hosted an emergency press conference as a desperate attempt to halt the tide that's clearly turning in Kamala Harris's favor. And instead, he turned that tidal wave into a tsunami because the guy showed once again how unhinged he really is.
Okay.
Mr. President, you have not had a public campaign event for nearly a week now. Tomorrow you'll be in Montana, which is not a swing state. Some of your allies have expressed concern that you're not taking this race seriously, particularly at a time where there is...
And it just so happened, in the most stark of contrasts, that Kamala Harris was also speaking in front of the camera, providing one of the best split screens since both their recent rallies were assembled side by side, sending the former man-child in chief into complete disarray.
So I think the abortion issue has been very much tempered down, and I've answered, I think, very well in the debate, and it seems to be much less of an issue, especially for those where they have the exceptions, as you know. And I think it's, when I look, for 52 years, they wanted to bring abortion back to the states. They wanted to get rid of Roe v. Wade, and that's Democrats, Republicans, and independents, and everybody.
Balance. And then the outcome will be fair. And isn't that what we're talking about in this here election? Yes. We're saying we just want fairness. We want dignity for all people. We want to recognize the right all people have to freedom and liberty, to make choices, especially those that are about heart and home, and not have their government telling them what to do.
But in the wake of it, MSNBC host Lawrence O'Donnell dedicated an entire segment not necessarily to fact-check the former president, as he stated clearly that any network who tried to keep up couldn't, but reminded viewers of how common this was in 2016, that the man somehow once elected to be president proved again how he's the stupidest candidate to have ever been given that opportunity.
This network brought you the last few minutes of Kamala Harris's speech live, but was actually doing Olympics coverage when the speech began, and kept doing it. And so, as a first order of business in this hour tonight, we will correct that mistake by presenting to you in full and unedited, as if live, everything that Kamala Harris said today in her speech in Michigan, which all of the networks knew was coming. They knew what time it was coming. They knew how to cover it live, and they didn't. After giving Donald Trump more than an hour of live coverage on all of their networks. It's 2016 all over again. The same mistakes are being made. I have never seen an industry slower at learning from its own stupid mistakes than the American news business. And you cannot expect them in the next 89 days to figure out what they haven't been able to figure out in 9 years, how to cover a Trump for president campaign. One of the Harris-Walz campaign slogans now is, "We're not going back." But we just went back today. We went back 9 years in the press coverage of the campaign, the media coverage. Donald Trump gets credit from the people he lied to today for lying to them. They appreciate it. Reporters understandably and incorrectly believe that the most important thing a candidate can do is answer their questions. But they don't know what an answer actually is. Words spoken after their question marks are not necessarily answers and are never answers when they come from Donald Trump. There are rumblings in the news media now about Kamala Harris as a presidential candidate not doing what Donald Trump did today. Stand up in front of reporters and take their questions. And some of the tinier minds in the news media continue to give credit to Donald Trump for standing up and lying in response to every single question they ask. A lie is not an answer. Donald Trump never answers reporters' questions. Never. Anyone in the news media who tells you that Donald Trump has answered reporters' questions and Kamala Harris hasn't is lying to you, and they're too stupid to know that they're lying to you because they don't know what an answer is.
And this presser, to me, reeked of desperation. He's well aware of that momentum shift, the crowd sizes, the energy, the difference in VP choice, and he can't handle it.
I'd say two really important things. Number one, his authenticity. This is one of the most authentic tickets I think we've ever seen in U.S. politics. It's part of the reason why the vice president has blown up so much on TikTok, and the same thing with Governor Walz. They're authentic. They're real people. And I think this generation especially is done with people who, to be quite frank, feel like they've been made it in a laboratory to become a politician. They just want humans. They want people just like them to run. And these two represent that. But the second thing that I think is really important, and I said this in my tweet, is that Governor Walz has shown what it means to show people that government can work for them, that when you vote for someone, you get something out of it. And I think that's really important to keep in mind. With a very slim majority, keep in mind, the Republicans have a slim majority in Congress. They've done zip. With a very slim majority, Governor Walz has gotten free universal school lunch for all kids, feeding all of our children, making sure they're not going hungry in schools. He's passed red flag laws. He's passed protections for labor unions. He's passed record money for transit and affordable housing. And he's shown people that when you vote, when we win, we actually get something for our communities. And I think that, honestly, Jen, is one of the most important things and one of the reasons I'm really excited for him as a pick. There were so many good people on the short list, but Governor Walz has shown his people what government can do.
We're witnessing a campaign in turmoil, an egomaniac with an inferiority complex unable to grasp the reality that a campaign merely weeks old has this amount of momentum.
One issue that former President Donald Trump believes he is far better on than Vice President Harris, and he is using it to pitch voters in Georgia.
Crazy Kamala, ultra left, you know that. She was here a week ago, lots of empty seats. It was very boring. I don't need entertainers. I fill the stadium because I'm making America great again. She has to go get entertainers. They start leaving as soon as she opens her mouth.
Trump was complaining that an estimated 10,000 people were at Harris's event that she had there a few days before. I should note they were hosting their rallies in the exact same arenas. As these are happening side by side, you can see both of the images here.
Well, I mean, it obviously bothers him. I mean, let's keep in mind, I sat through his inauguration and it was a pretty empty mall in the Capitol.
So Lawrence O'Donnell is right here. And make no mistake, there will be more meltdowns to come from the Trump campaign.
Real quick, Meta just changed their algorithm to suppress political content. Please follow our Instagram at MeidasTouch right now as we head towards 400,000 followers so you don't miss a beat.